Welcome to a new installment of Cohort 1986. I'm your host, Rodney.
I'm Candace.
And Candace, today we have a very, very, very special guest.
Yes.
Miss Aireka Harvell.
Okay.
Aireka is an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
an educated woman with her master's,
Yes.
an innovator,
Yes.
and most importantly, a mentorship.
Yes. Yes.
So everybody, give a round of applause for Aireka.
Yes. Welcome. So glad to have you on our show today.
It's a pleasure having you. You're on mute. Can't hear you.
There we go. Okay. I'm excited to be here. I don't know what's going on with this computer.
No problem. It's a pleasure having you. We're glad to have you on the show today.
Welcome.
We're just ready to jump into it and let us tell your story. Let you tell us your story.
I'm super excited for one. This woman is doing big things in the community.
Mm-hmm.
She's also an entrepreneur, so she has her own organization. Today is really going to be jam-packed. So I'm ready to get to the conversation.
Hold on, before we jump into the conversation.
All right.
I heard something about a fire that's rapid. You got some rapid fire questions for it, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got to ask my questions. I'm sorry. I was a little excited over here. She got a lot going on. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get into it for you guys. So my first question is, what is your favorite restaurant?
Oh, I just found this new restaurant called Chong Tong.
Okay.
It's a Thai restaurant. So I love Thai food.
Okay.
But I tried their chicken wings the other day, and I've never tasted chicken this season. And they have like this, yes, they have this Thai sauce on top. Ooh. As soon as you bite it, you can't help but to stop and be like,
Okay.
So we're gonna add it to the list when we visit Nashville.
Okay, y'all, she's in Nashville, by the way, too. So if you're looking to check out this juicy chicken, it sounds absolutely delicious. She's in Nashville. So the next question that I have for you, being in Nashville, what is your favorite genre of music?
My favorite genre of music, believe it or not, is pop.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's most definitely not. Well, I like some country. Some country, but it's pop.
Oh.
I have a guilty pleasure to announce.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite songs is Tennessee Whiskey. I love that song. That's my country pleasure. So.
Yeah, he loves that song. He will play it over and over and over and over again. Okay. Moving on. So my last question for you. So Tennessee is still kind of in the South.
No, it's Southern.
Okay. Well, let's see how Southern it is, right? So
it ain't that Southern.
So pancakes or waffles?
Both. No, okay. I like both. Yeah.
That's the most diplomatic answer.
Okay.
All right. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
I like her already. She likes pancakes and waffles.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I'm a Nashville native. Grew up in the north side of Nashville, which is like the side that's like popping right now.
Okay.
With a lot of the gentrifiers coming in and trying to make it their own.
Mm-hmm. We've seen that.
Yes. I am the second child of 7 children.
Wow.
And then a PK kid.
Oh, wow. For y'all who don't know, that means preacher's kid.
Yes. It also means that I was a handful.
Honesty.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of put it in there. It's like I'm a PK kid, and most people are like, oh, she was a handful, because I was a handful. I actually ran away from home when I was 14 years old. Wow. And been on my, I would say 14 going on 15, but I've been on my own ever since. And I'm a single mother. I was married for 13 years, a single mother now of 4 beautiful children, 2 boys, 2 girls.
Awesome.
Went to TSU, HBCU.
Okay.
and ended up transferring to Cumberland University, graduated with my bachelor's at Cumberland University my senior year, and then went to MTSU to get my master's in organizational leadership. I have a decade of experience working for AT&T, and where I also worked on the American Express Plenti loyalty. So I have a decade of experience in loyalty and retention. Wow. And then from there is where I started working on Nodat. And then started working with my other two co-founders building Twende. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I was just kind of doing a little bit of research on you, and I just kind of wanted you to tell people why education is so important to you. I saw something where you said that you would kind of go back and look at your graduation video and you would just hear your kids cheering in the background. and that really stuck out to me. Like, why is education so important to you?
My education was important to my dad. Growing up, he was in college when he first met my mom, and then they ended up getting married and having my brother, and so he did not get to finish college. And so he had made a promise to himself that he was going to get us there, and so he constantly just put it in our head that education was the way to go. And I wanted to make sure that, even though I ran away from home at 14, I kept a close relationship with my father. I was telling my kids today that my dad wasn't perfect, but he was perfect to me. Because even when I ran away and did all the crazy things, he never treated me any other way. And he always knew where I was. And he just never, he just steady, saying you need to get your GED since you're not going to finish high school. You need to go to college. He signed for my first loan. He was very, very adamant about that. And so I wanted to make sure I did the same for my children.
And that's so awesome. Important. I mean, it's just so important that, we don't throw people away when they go a different route in their lives, that we continue to embrace them and we continue to embrace their differences. So that's very important. And thank you for sharing and being so transparent about your background.
That's awesome. That is completely awesome. And so another question for you. So kind of growing up, what was some of defining things that happened to you, moments that kind of shaped the person that you are today?
Oh man. So growing up from teenager to where I am now, oh man. So one of the things that I've built my personal brand around, which is ArekaHarvell.com, is around the 9-year-old Aireka. When I was 9 years old, like I said, my dad was a preacher, and so sometimes we would go over to the church members' houses after church and play with their kids. And so we went over to this member's house. She happened to be a white lady, and I had a crush on her son. And we were outside playing with her daughter, and I went in to get something to drink. And her son was sitting at the table talking to his mom, and he was telling his mom that he had a crush on my little sister. And I overheard his mom tell him that he shouldn't like my little sister because she's light skinned and pretty, but he should like me because I was brown skinned and ugly girls treat you better. And I went into my friend's room and I cried, and I kept that to myself. I didn't tell my mom, but it wasn't until 2020 that I realized that I had shaped the majority of my life around that belief, that I believed that I needed to love extra and for other people to love me because I was brown skinned and I was ugly and I would never be beautiful. And so I'm sorry, not 2020, 2017. And in 2017, I ended up putting myself through a mindset boot camp. I created my own mindset boot camp. And I started to empty out for a lot of those thoughts and deal with them head on. And I went back and I just reconnected with the 9-year-old little girl, healed her, and basically said, be the woman that you wanted to be when you were 9 years old. And so I ended up writing a book called Find the Beauty in Your Now. where I lay out the steps of the mindset bootcamp that I put myself through to empty out that what I call a mental suitcase that was causing me mental anguish and stopping me from being that that woman that this 9-year-old used to imagine that she was going to be when she grew up. You know how we sit on the floor and we play with our dolls and and we imagine who we're going to be. And I believe that a lot of women are trapped in that 9-year-old where they were when they were 9 years old, when somebody said something that altered the path that they ultimately would imagine themselves taking as adults. And so that moment is very intricate to the path that I am on right now, because I've always known since I was 9 years old that I was going to do something big, something to help the world. And I even told my mom, I think I was sent here to bring peace. And she was like, you was not sent here to bring peace. It's like, I just feel like I was. And so it's that moment.
Wow. And can you talk a little bit, I mean, what you just said was just so powerful, how you took on yourself. So what was that process like for you to take on yourself and you to think about shifting your mindset? So like, did you write down like different steps that you needed to take, or what kind of helped you shape that journey of that mindset shift?
I did. I wrote down. First, I watched a lot of YouTube videos for like about mindset, and then I read this book by Kara Leba called Girl Code. And as I was reading Kara's book, she basically let me know that I was using my mind the wrong way. That I was using my mind to replay the past and all the things that people had done wrong to me or said to me over and over in my mind, to self-sabotage myself and to justify why I was getting treated that way. And so when I realized that I was using my mind the wrong way, and I was supposed to be using it to visualize what I wanted to see in the future, so I had to change the movie that I was playing in my head. So the first thing I had to do was empty out that mental and I would visualize it as this big black heavy suitcase that I was carrying around in my mind, and going back to it and pulling out the hurt that I needed to pull out at any given moment. And so I had to empty all that out and deal with it. And so the first thing I had to do was get used to seeing myself, because I didn't even know what I looked like. I had put myself on the back burner so much and neglected myself so much that when I closed my eyes to try and meditate and visualize, I couldn't even see my own face. I didn't even know what I looked like. So the first thing I had to do was stand in the mirror for 30 days straight and just kind of like focus on one body, one part of my face, and be like, okay, these are my eyes and they're almond shaped, and my eyes are brown and they're beautiful. Okay, look at my smile. And then I realized that I had a pretty smile, and I was like, oh my God, my smile is so pretty. And now you can't stop me from smiling. Like, I think it's my best feature. And so like now, when I visualize what I want for myself, for the company, for the children, I see myself being that person in the future. And that's all I see now. Like, you can't, I was telling somebody the other day, you know how they say, oh, you girl smile, when people are always saying girl smile, and they say you have resting bitch face, right? And I said, it's probably because we're playing those memories, we're playing the wrong movie in our mind. But if we're constantly playing the movie where we see ourselves in the future and we see what we want to be, going back to that 9-year-old little girl and seeing that imagination, I guarantee you there's going to be, nobody will have to stop you and say, girl, smile. They have to stop you and say, what you smiling about? Because that movie is constantly playing in your mind.
Wow, that was just so powerful. And, you're going to help heal somebody by them hearing your story about what you just said about when you close your eyes, are you able to see yourself? Okay. Are you able to see yourself? Are you able to imagine yourself? And that for me is just kind of a defining moment for people, for you to be able to see yourself in your future, not only as to where you are now, but where you're going. So that was powerful.
Man, I just kind of it had me just kind of thinking, like, can I see myself? What things am I holding on to? And do I really need to let some of those things go, because it's impeding the progress that I'm making?
Yeah.
And that's just a word that just kind of spoke to me just now.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I need to hear it.
Okay.
I need to hear it.
Yeah. Let's get this. Let's get the healing on the
okay on the
pod.
Yes. I'm about to knock my bun down, girl.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That was a word. That was a word. I hope if you don't do nothing else during this podcast, rewind that back probably about 3-4 minutes and just start from the beginning and then just play it through.
Open your ears, open your heart, and listen.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And you guys, she also talked about her book, Find the Beauty in the Now. So can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so the book basically talks about, the 9-year-old me in that moment when that church member said what she said, and where that led me up until the point of, I was married. Now, when I tell you my story, people always say, girl, when you gonna write your book of the Bible? Because literally I have been through a lot of stuff. So it talks about my marriage and the abuse that I went through, and how I, would always believe that I deserved it. After I finally divorced my husband, I got into another relationship that was more mentally and emotionally abusive. It was just basically the same man, but in a different form. And the mental anguish just got worse. And then I talk about that moment where the light bulb came on and said, you need to do something about this. Because you're constantly telling yourself that you deserve it. What they're saying is right. Like, you're the one reiterating this. And so the book just basically talks about that. I'm very, like, as you can see, I'm a very transparent person. So in the book, I transparently talk about, when I ran away from home, all the things that I did, I got out there and I tried drugs and all that stuff. And I talk about the moment where I asked God to take the taste out of my mouth, and I just walked over to the toilet and I flushed it. And I said, once I flush this, I won't want it anymore. And it's been 24 years now that I've been clean. And I didn't even have to go to like rehab or anything. I just asked for it. And, I'm very spiritual. So spirit basically let me know not too long ago that I just have to want it. I just have to think and want it and ask for it, and not just, don't beg for it. Don't work too hard for it. And if you believe it, then it'll happen. And that's what, just looking back, that's what happened. And so just talking about all of that, and the reason why I'm so transparent and working up to, the mindset, and I take the women through a 30-day mindset boot camp. And each day in the book, they have different activities that they have to do in order to find that woman. And then I share with them the reason why I'm so transparent, and that is because I need them to be able to see themselves in me. I need them to be able to, to get rid of any shame of, whether they were, out there on drugs, or whether they were in an abusive relationship, whether they were, called ugly and bullied on in school and never had a boyfriend. Like, I needed them to see me. And so the book is about, being very transparent so that they can believe that they can too, have that healing as well. So that's primarily what the book is about.
Awesome.
Man.
It's look, man, we're gonna order a book ourselves.
Yeah.
We're gonna read that book, and
for sure.
And can you just tell people where can they find the book?
Yeah.
On Amazon.
Okay. Amazon.
Yeah. It's on Amazon, and also Goodreads and Kindle. Not Kindle, but what's the other one? Yeah, I think it's Kindle.
Okay.
Awesome. So just kind of want to jump forward. So you have an entrepreneurial spirit, obviously.
Yeah.
And so can you kind of talk about how Nodat came to be, and usually when entrepreneurs, they see a need for something.
Yeah.
What was that need for Nodat, and how did you address it?
So it's a funny story. My son came to me crying, upset because he was getting teased on Snapchat by his friends, because they were all at this water park, and it was the last day of summer, and it was too late for him to go. So they were creating videos and making fun of him because he wasn't there with them. So he came to me crying. Was like, "Did you know there was a water park here?" And I said, "No." I said, "I didn't know that." I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, he told me about them teasing him. And so I called around and I asked my mom and my sisters and my friends. It's like, "Did y'all know there was a new water park here?" And only one person knew about it. And I kind of got irritated at her. And I said, "Well, why didn't you post anything on social media? You know, that's where we get our information from."
Right.
How do you keep this to yourself? Yeah. And then she gonna say, "Girl, and it was $3 a day too." I'm like, that just made me mad, because that's something you need to be. Yes, you need to be telling everybody.
Right.
You know, that was a $3 a day water park. My kids would have been there all summer.
Right.
But I started thinking about you know, that there needed to be an app that rewarded locals for sharing what they know. And I mentioned that to my son, and he said, "Why don't you do it, Mama?" And you know, kids think that we can do everything. And he said it so nonchalant. "Build an app, Mama." And so I started researching and just, you know, to figure out like what I need to do to actually build the app. And I hired a team out of India and started working with that team, and researching and talking to local businesses, and you know, found out that you know, most of them are not the local companies have a lot of issues getting their information to the local community, because you know, local search is dominated by the same companies over and over again. You know, you go there and type restaurants near me, you're gonna see the same. It's like, man, give me
the same five.
Yeah. And so we started figuring out like, okay, how do we get, you know, locals to do that? And so we launched in 2017. Originally, our first launch was in 2017, and we were basically, you know, we launched with the idea of video reviews. So we were TikTok before TikTok was a thing. The only thing is that we were really early because people were not yet ready to see themselves on video every day. They were not comfortable with that yet. Even though we gained traction, they were still using it like a Yelp, and they were writing their reviews, and that's not what we wanted. And so when 2020, when COVID happened, we saw a lot of the businesses that we had on the platform unsubscribing and closing down and going out of business.
Oh, wow.
We saw you know, a lot of the businesses who were using Facebook and Instagram to try to get their temporary closings and their new menus to their existing customers struggle, you know, with 19 likes and, you know, not able to get a lot of impressions. And then we saw the consumers trying to figure out, okay, who's open, what's their new menus. So they were creating their own list and creating Facebook groups, trying to share the information that they had to research. So there was no direct line of communication for the local businesses or the consumers to communicate with each other. And so I sat back and I watched that all go down, and I said, we're going to close that gap. We're going to focus on working on closing that gap, and with geo-targeting mobile marketing by empowering both the businesses to send direct communication to users who want to know their information through push notification and text message marketing. And then we're going to empower the users to decide who can do that. And that way they're only receiving relevant information, and they're always in the know with what they want to know about and what they care about. And then we'll circle back to adding the video content back onto the platform, because we've learned from TikTok. We know what not to do, right? So that's where we are right now.
Wow,
that's
pretty cool with the geo marketing. So like, how does that work? Like, is it like when you drive by a place that pops up, or how does that work?
Yeah, so consumers, users of the app would download the app, and they would create their own profile, like a marketing ID, and select categories and subcategories of interest that they care about. So if you want to know, like if you care about women-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, LGBTQIA-owned businesses, so you choose those values. And then you say, well, I like restaurants, American, Indian, like you go through. Recreation, local things for kids. You choose the things that you care about: local information, local government, planning committees, things like that. And then as how the geo notes work, as you're driving from state to state, city to city, Nodat knows you, so Nodat knows what to recommend to you and to let you know what's near. So when you drive by a Black-owned barbecue restaurant, Nodat will send you a push notification, which is a geo note that says, "Hey Candace, you're 1 mile away from Billy Bob's barbecue restaurant, which is Black-owned." And then we have what we call smart notes, which are customizable push notifications that where you can subscribe to a business's page on our app, and that business can send out almost like Instagram captions, but like they write their own push notifications. Like the other day, one was sent out for Chong Tong, which is how I found it. One was sent out for Chong Tong, and it was like YOLO, lick the bone. Chong Tong chicken wings are, it's like, it's really, really like AAVE-ish, like the brand personality through the push notifications and being human. And then we have Snapchat like coupons. So the coupons appear and disappear in the apps. You kind of like got to catch the deal before it goes away. And so that's the geo targeting aspect of it all.
Wow.
That's
really
very
cool.
Innovative and
that is really cool.
And I see that really catching on.
Yeah, the lick the bone. I would have been like, where the barbecue place at?
They're like, look, don't tempt me with a good time. Right. So looking at your profile, you essentially had work experience with AT&T, customer loyalty. So when did you become a full-time entrepreneur, and what made you do that, and what sacrifices did you have to make in becoming one?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Ooh, yes, it is a good question. So I was with AT&T for 10 years, and I was up for a promotion. Well, I had been working on Nodat for a year before I left. And I was up for a promotion. And I talk about this in my book. I was up for a promotion, and I was juggling both of them at the same time. And I was like, okay, I can't continue to do both of these. Yeah. And so I, talked to Spirit, and I said, okay, if it's meant for me to leave AT&T and start working on building the company full time, let me go into work tomorrow and let Jeremy tell me that he's decided not to give me the promotion. And I get to work the next day, and Jeremy taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Can I see you in my office?" And he says those exact words. And at that point, the prayer had gone out my head. I was kind of upset. And I went back to my desk, and then I remembered the prayer, and I put my 2 weeks notice in the next day. And everybody kept coming to me saying, "You're just mad. You're just upset. You're not thinking straight. It's not your turn to dream. Think about your children."
Wow.
There's you have great benefits. You make $100,000 a year. Like, they were throwing all of this at me, and I was like, you know what? They're right. So I took my 2 weeks notice back, and I stayed for an additional 3 months. And I said, okay, you're not the author of confusion. So at the end of this week, I will know for sure if I need to leave and start building this company full time. And that Wednesday, I went to a meeting, and an investor, a guy who was a friend, who's also one of the first investors, said, "I'll give you $40,000 to leave and build the company full time." And I said, okay. I put my 2 weeks notice in, and I left. That time I left. But the kicker is this: after I left, and it was time for him to give the $40,000, he did not. And so that was the kicker. And I had $40,000 of my own money saved up. Another investor had already invested $100,000, so we had that. But that was the kicker. And I said, okay, I didn't give stipulations for how he got me out of that building, but that's how he got me out of that building. So
Wow. So can you talk a little bit about like some of the sacrifices of being a full-time entrepreneur? Because, people think about entrepreneurship and they're like, oh, this is glamorous. I work for myself. I do what I want all day. So what are some of the sacrifices that you've had to make as a full-time entrepreneur?
And then parent on top of that.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say the biggest sacrifices is with my children. Sometimes I feel guilty about changing their life. Like I uprooted them when I left my job. Like they had plush, right? I had to sell our 5-bedroom house that I built from the ground up for them, where they all had their own room, and I had to sell it to continue building. And I felt really, really guilty about that for a long time. And they are some wonderful kids, because they always say, "Mama, it's just a house. We're gonna get bigger." Like they've already chosen the house that they want to buy when we sell the company. And but that change affecting your children's lives, because like when you go after being an entrepreneur, whether that's building your like a mom and pop restaurant, or whether you're building a high growth beauty brand or a tech company, and as a parent, you can try your best to minimize the effect that it has on your children, but it's going to, because even though you work from home, or you may not, but most entrepreneurs do. Most of the time you're working at home, and those kids will come in and say, "Do you want to have movie night?" And you're like, "I got a deadline," right? And so you're trying to have movie night and do the deadline at the same time. So that's one of the biggest ones. And then I would say it depends on how much you jump in it, because you can either be an entrepreneur part-time or full-time, and keep your full-time job. But once you make that decision to be full-time, sacrificing it without going without pay while you build the company, paying your employees first, and you're not going without. So I have a co-founder, and for a long time we went without payment. Like we didn't pay ourselves anything. And so I was doing freelance work on the side while, building the company to pay our bills. So that's another sacrifice that you have to make as well.
Wow. So y'all, before we got on the call, Aireka was telling us some big news that she has. So I'm gonna let her share the news, but just kind of talking about funding and investors, like just kind of thinking about like how important it is to have that funding to move your organization to the next level. So can you talk a little bit about like kind of what has been your kind of growth path?
And then can you kind of dive into Twende after that?
Sure. Well, and it may make more sense to talk about Twende first, because Twende was created from the fact that it was hard for the three of us to find funding in Nashville. The three of us are all tech founders, and we were noticing that, one, the ecosystem in Nashville was not inclusive. The Black community, they didn't necessarily like just understand what we were doing. Like when I launched my first crowdfunding campaign, there were whispers, she shouldn't have a business if she can't pay her bills. Like they didn't understand that the crowdfunding was a part of what our counterparts, like it was a part of the process, and our counterparts had been doing this for years, right? Raising from aunts and uncles, and so they didn't understand that. And so I was talking with Shawnee Dow of POSSIP. She would be a great person to interview as well. And I was just mentioning to her that, what people were saying about the crowdfunding. And she said, I think you'd be great as a third founder for Twende. And so we started working on, it was supposed to be just an event for the three of us to raise money and to, introduce our companies to the investors here in Nashville. And then the next day was a panel. It was a workshop conference with different panel discussions to teach the Black community about funding, about investors, about marketing themselves, storytelling, and all of that. and over 300 Black entrepreneurs showed up. We were not expecting that. It was so powerful in that room. And I was reading through the text messages between me, Shani, and Kip. Kip Kosuke Magut was the one who named Twende. He's Swahili, Kiswahili as well. And he, I was reading through the text messages, and he was talking about how whenever he would walk out of the conference, somebody from outside would pull him over and say, "Hey, what's going on in there? I can feel the energy all the way over here." Like,
wow,
it was that powerful. Wow. And one of the investors there kind of pulled me to the side, and she was like, "Y'all need to turn this into an accelerator." It was like, that's the plan. And so we started with like 1 hour CEO lunches, just teaching Black entrepreneurs from allowing them to have lunch with different Black entrepreneurs that were already in the city, that most of us didn't know about because they didn't make themselves known. It was all about like the respectability politics,
right?
Separating yourselves from the others, and so and so we started closing that gap, and then we turned it into the Twende program, and so we've graduated. I think we're in our 4th cohort.
That's
now.
Awesome.
It's across the state of Tennessee now. It's like we started in Nashville, and now Governor Lee has adopted it, and so now it's a statewide program.
That's awesome.
It's
gotta give it up, man.
Thank you. So it's we're pretty excited, and then so like, raising money as a Black woman, as a Black founder is, it's very challenging. A lot of things have changed since 2020, pre-George Floyd.
Right.
We noticed when George Floyd, when the thing happened, I don't even want to say the word, but when it happened with George Floyd, Silicon Valley started doing something. Like, they started moving and saying, "Oh, we've been wrong. We've been keeping them out." Like, I had an investor here in Nashville who I'm friends with him now. But he kind of said to me in 2020 that when pitch decks used to come across their desk from a Black founder, they would not even read them. They just push them to the side. He said that because they believed that Black founders were unproven. They were high risk and they were unproven.
Wow.
Sad.
Yes. And so when the thing with George Floyd happened, I guess the light bulb went off, a temporary light bulb, I'm gonna say. So they started just throwing money to Black entrepreneurs. I even had one reach out to me. It was like, "I'm gonna give you $50,000, and it went all over LinkedIn talking about how he was investing $50,000 in our company and ghosted us. So like, they started doing a lot of things like that. And so we have a lot of Black Black venture capitalists and angel investors who are now creating their own syndicates and their own angel groups to invest in other Black founders.
That's awesome.
Yes. And so now you see a lot more money going to Black entrepreneurs, but not enough. Black women are still the lowest to receive funding. We're less than 1% of venture capital funding. There's only been 98 Black women in all of history who has raised at least $1 million in venture funding. And Shani Dow is, which is also one of the founders of POSSUP, one of the founders of Twende, who I think y'all should, like I said, should interview. She was the first Black woman in Nashville to receive $1 million.
Wow!
That's
Wow!
In funding. I'm almost there. I'm 525,000. So
yes, it's on the way. It's on the way.
Claiming that
it's on the way.
Yeah, almost there. And the funding from Amazon, the Black Founders Accelerator, helped a lot. We got $225,000 from Amazon, so that helped a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Man, that is awesome.
So now I have to ask you, like, what's a tip for people who are looking to pitch? Like,
so no, we're gonna back this up.
Okay, all right.
Back it up. So I have a company that focuses on goods and services. It fills a need in the community. We're making money, but we just need a little extra push to get over the hump.
A little bump.
A little bump. So I want to come to companies like Bank of America, Wells Fargo,
or Amazon.
Okay.
What will be your strategy for us to get over that hump?
So, first off, if your strategy is to work with corporations, then Amazon would be a good one. I really believe in Amazon's promise to help close the wealth gap for Black people. Amazon has a Black Accelerator for small business owners as well, and I'm gonna tell you why I love how Amazon does their program. Every person over the Black initiatives for Amazon is a Black person.
Wow.
The VP of the Black Accelerator Small Business Accelerator for Amazon, she's a Black woman named Tiffany Johnson, and Amazon gave her I think a $50 million or $150 million to build that program up.
Wow.
And so you get training from the Amazon executives. They give you funding. They teach you how to, build these corporations, how to sell on their platform.
Oh wow.
They market you, like they kind of push you up in the search. And then also there is all of these corporations have Black initiatives. So are you registered as a Black-owned business through the government, like through the Minority Development Council? Like, are you officially registered as a Black-owned business or a woman-owned business?
There's a tip, y'all. There's a tip to register. Get yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely get the minority registration and the women-owned registration too. So a lot of our counterparts, even though it was their business, they would make their wives co-owners, and the wife would get 51%, and the husband would get 49% because women get more grants than men. So they would formulate it that way because you can get both minority contracts with the government, with these corporations, and then you can also get the women-owned.
There's a tip, y'all.
Right. So that's more money. Hello Alice. Are y'all familiar with Hello Alice?
No.
Hello Alice is a grants platform for women. And like just yesterday, they had a $20,000 an application for a $20,000 grant for Black women small businesses, and they do this periodically. So you can sign up for Hello Alice email newsletter. And catch those grant opportunities. And they typically choose between 10 to 20 women each grant cycle to gift it to. And I mean, it's like not just one grant a year. They're doing this like 2 or 3 times a month.
Wow.
Also, SoGal gives $10,000 away to Black women entrepreneurs. There's a lot of what we call non-dilutive capital opportunities.
Nice.
And I can send some stuff over after the
of course.
Post that up, and
we definitely will.
We're proponents of getting that information out to the people.
Yeah, any resources that are here that can help people get you to the next level. So thank you for sharing those tips.
You're welcome.
So I have to ask you, you're big on just kind of judge and pitch competitions from Yale and AT&T, reaching out to young Black women and young Black men. So why is mentorship so important to you?
One, because we need guidance, right? We talk a lot about like raising up as Black people, we religious and raising up in church, we hear about being guided, right? Being led, Lord, lead me. And I'm really, really big on believing that we are used. In order for that to happen, we have to be the ones to allow ourselves to be used to guide other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you remember me saying, like, in the beginning, knowledge is my high.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learn something, I'm not selfish. Like, I don't learn it because, I need to, I feel like I'm smart. I learn it for myself. And then I also can't wait to share it with other people.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have the mentorship when I first started. That I jumped out there. I didn't have any experience in tech whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
When I was married, I helped my husband build a barbershop, but it wasn't the same. And, the needs were different. And so finding the advisors and the mentors here in Nashville was pretty hard. And so I don't want other entrepreneurs, whether they're Black, white, brown, to make the mistakes that I've made. If they can learn from the mistakes that I've made, I want to be able to give somebody that opportunity to get there faster than I did.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important to me. So any opportunity that I get to share my knowledge, my expertise with entrepreneurs, I jump at that. In fact, my assistants know, like, we have a code for, okay, I'm not going to say the code, but this means that they have to go by what my next available date is. And then this means high priority. And any time an entrepreneur gets into my inbox and it's like, I need to spend 15 to 20 minutes with you. I'm stuck on this one thing. Can I run something by you? They always get the high priority code. Because that moment, being able to just get sound advice or bounce things off of people, or brainstorm, could make the world of difference.
It can.
For that entrepreneur. And then in the beginning, like, I didn't have the money to pay for no coach. I was trying to survive. And and everybody wanted to charge me to talk to them, and I'm like, I'm trying to survive. I can't.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that young entrepreneurs, and when I say young, I'm not talking about age. I mean new entrepreneurs. Still out there learning, experimenting, get the mentorship that they need, because we can't do anything in this world without having that leader there.
So true.
And in fact, I talk to my kids. Like, my kids, they know, like, we're a soul family is what we call ourselves. Like, I don't harp on the fact that I'm your mama and you do what I say. No, I'm your guide. I'm your mentor. I got here first. So I kind of know how to navigate this place. So, it's kind of like when you start a new job and you're the tenured employee, somebody gets there. It's your job to show them around and show them how things work, right?
Right.
And then for them, they're coming from wherever in the world we came from. So they still have basic knowledge that we don't have. Right. And so what I see it is as we're all helping each other, and there's exchange of information. So I listen to them, I watch them, and I remember how to be a kid and how to have that childlike imagination, right? How to have that childlike faith. Because I always say that my children allow me to borrow from their faith. Because they taught me how to get back there just by watching them. Now, had I been one of those parents that tell my kids to sit down and shut up, right? Kids have to be seen and not heard. I would have never got that blessing. I would have never been able to connect those dots. And so the same thing for entrepreneurs. You have to be willing, one, to know that there is always an exchange of information. You need mentorship. Nobody knows, not even the highest of best entrepreneurs still has a mentor. Nobody knows everything. And then you can also learn from those who are coming up, because they may have tried something scrappy that works for them. And here you are spending a whole bunch of money to get the result that they got at a lesser amount. So you have to be willing to exchange that information. So I get something out of it too.
Yeah. I love it. And that's why we do this show, because we are all about knowledge, inspiration, and perspective. And that's what cohorts Cohort 1986, that's our purpose, that's our mission, and that's just who we are. So, I just love that you're offering yourself and being a servant leader to others. So thank you for helping others and making space for everyone. I really appreciate that. So I have to ask you, so what's next for you? Like what do the next 5 years look like for you?
So focus on growth. We want to move into Atlanta next market. Okay. So right now we're just focused on driving demand and educating the market, because what we're doing is like really, really, really novel. Like we tell people that the company's name Nodat, and they go, "Oh, cool name. What is it?" And I have to say it's geo-targeting. Oh, what is that? Right. So we're educating the market on this concept. On the next thing we're going to implement is the AI and the machine learning, and so focused on just driving the demand on that and user acquisition. Then we want to move into Atlanta.
Nice.
It's the next step, and so just focus on getting more people using the app and more businesses signing up, and our goal is to one day exit to a larger company. And then like what I want to do full time once I sell the company is I want to invest. I myself want to become an angel investor for women and Black businesses. So that's my next focus.
I absolutely love it. So where can people find you, and where can people find Nodat?
So Nodat is available on Apple and Android. Right now, we're just in the national DMA market. Okay. I got a text tonight that said that we're about a week and a half away from being available all over the United States. Yes, I'm excited about that. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then the goal is to be national. The goal is to be a global. So I always. One of my friends created a Ebony magazine cover for me with me on the cover as one of the Power 100.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to be one of the first Black women to take a marketing tech company global. That's the goal. So awesome. We want to be a global brand. But oh my God, I forgot what I was saying before. Oh, I forgot what I was saying before I mentioned that. I get so excited about that.
Listen, I'm excited for you. I can see it. I mean, just, looking at where you started and where you are now and how you've been able to grow the company, in the midst of growing your company, you've been able to grow yourself. You've been able to grow others. I mean, you've helped start a Accelerator program. So yes, I'm with your friend with this cover she didn't create it. We need to send that over to print.
Right. I was so honored. I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I have it on my phone, so I look at it.
Love it
all the time. But yeah, that's what I would say. It's an Apple and Google. And then we have a Chrome extension that's getting ready to launch. And then we are all over social media at Nodat Place.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Nodat Place.
Nodat Place. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, I just want to thank Aireka for just being here and just kind of blessing us with her beautiful spirit. First and foremost, and just imparting this wisdom into our audience. Just give her a round of applause.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I am so excited for the future. So, Rodney, where can people find us?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat when we get those interns at Cohort 1986. And then also, we have a website, cohort1986.com.
Thank you.
Look, my last tip is be picky on the interns. That's my last
tip. Be picky on those interns.
Be picky.
Hey, I'm with it. So this has been great. So thank you so much, Aireka. Thanks again for, being so transparent and sharing your story and your journey, because this is what Cohort 1986 is about. Is really that informal mentorship, having real conversations with real people, and really kind of understanding how can we grow ourselves and what can we learn from others. So
You closed it. All I can say is amen.
And that church said,
amen.
Amen.
Bye, y'all.